Hey adventurers, so today is going to be a little bit different of a video. I, several months ago now, put out a video that I had titled Judging Dragon Book Covers, and since then I have been thinking about, and I think I've had people mention to me that they'd like to see me rate my Tolkien covers. I've got a lot of Tolkien covers. I did not realize how many I actually have, so we will go through and rate my Tolkien covers. How exactly this will work, I have no idea because I have no criteria for why I rank them the way that I do. But we will start with Lord of the Rings. Sounds reasonable to start with, so I will start with this edition of The Fellowship of the Ring. This is a very simple cover. I actually do really like the cover. It's very plain, very normal, simple, what is the word? Very minimalist in many ways, but it is also a reflection of the original cover that was used while publishing these books, and I do like that as well. I like the black with the gold on the top. That just really pops and brings out the color. Also, you can see the three rings, the three elven rings. You can see the one ring, and you can see the eye of Sauron in the center, and then the elven lettering around, which is obviously the ring poem. And I like all of that. I think this is a really solid cover. Perhaps if this was not Lord of the Rings and I didn't know that it was Lord of the Rings, it wouldn't be quite so impactful, but I do really like the cover, so I'm going to give it about a 7. Continuing on in this same editions, I have the Two Towers. This is another one very similar. We've got the red circle in the center that's symbolizing the ring. We've got some more elven text. We have the two towers themselves. I really like the designs of the two towers, the Tower of the Moon and the Tower of the Star. They look good, they work well together. We've got some sort of winged beast flying up above. It really is a good cover describing and illustrating what this book is about, especially based on the title of the Two Towers. So I'd probably give this a little bit higher, closer to a 7.5, maybe an 8 even. Then we move on to The Return of the King, which is again the same edition. Nice black cover, black background with this is actually, we've got a green ring on the front now, as well as what looks like a wings and a white tree with 7 stars. We also have a crown in the center here and some different types of lettering, which these are not elven runes and they are not dwarven runes. So I would guess that it's probably Endunaic, which is the language of the Min. Not Westron, not the common tongue, but the language that the Númenóreans spoke as their own language. This is an image of the crown of the kings of Gondor, not the green ring, but the rest of it is used to symbolize that. Obviously the title, The Return of the King, it kind of, again, this cover matches what the actual title says in its implication as a crown. So I do like that as well. I think maybe if you didn't know what you were looking at, you wouldn't understand it quite as much. I do really like the cover though, so I'm not going to drop it very much, but I think I'll probably drop it to about a 7 is all. I love the cover, but perhaps if you didn't know what you were looking at, it wouldn't work quite so well. We then have this same edition. This is the 75th anniversary edition of The Hobbit. Unfortunately, we have the now major motion picture, and yeah, whatever. It's unnecessary there, but I really like this cover. We've got the 2 eagles flying, we've got the mountain, we've got the sun. It's supposed to be the sun, or possibly the moon, but it doesn't matter. It's red. It's very pretty. This looks like an adventure story, and since the other title for The Hobbit is There and Back Again, I think having an image that tells you this is a journey and an adventure, I think that's a great cover. I would probably put this about an 8 or an 8.5, maybe even up to a 9. It doesn't say anything specifically about The Hobbit though. Then we have the Silmarillion in the same edition. Once again, this is the last one of these editions that I have. This one, the Silmarillion as a title, you really don't know anything about that title, what that means, but you do have the blue, which is very vibrant and really pops off the black background like that. You've got a mountain in the background, you have a little sailing ship on the bottom here. All of it comes together. It's a rendition of one of the very famous illustrations for the Silmarillion, and I think it looks beautiful. I will probably give this one an 8.5. Let's see, what's a different one? I guess now we will just go down through my stacks as I have them. The next one is The Nature of Middle-earth by J.r.r. Tolkien, but this is edited by Carl F. Hostetter. I have not read this book. I don't know a lot about it, but it does have a very pretty, and if I take the dust jacket off you can see it better. It's a landscape set in Middle-earth. There's not a whole lot to it other than that. Let's see, how do I make this actually so you can see it? Something like that. But it's very pretty. It doesn't tell you a whole lot about the story, but at the same time this isn't a storybook. This is a compilation of notes and lore, essentially, is all that it is on the nature of Middle-earth. I think it's a good cover, but not a great cover. I think for Tolkien, I guess I should mention this, I like all of Tolkien's covers. No, I don't like all of Tolkien's covers. I like most of Tolkien's covers. And this one I do quite like, but it really doesn't say a whole lot about anything. It's just cliffs and water and a little bit of lights from housing or something, possibly. We don't really know much about this, but I do like it. I can't really give it much more than a 5, though. Then we get The Fall of Gondolin. I love this cover. Ooh, and the back cover of it as well. So the front cover this is the city of Gondolin. Beautiful, massive, big city just sitting there with a character standing in the front that is probably Turin. No, this is probably Tuor. These are, of course, illustrated by the great Alan Lee, who has done most of the well-known imagery illustrations for The Lord of the Rings outside of Tolkien himself. There is one other illustrator that I can't think of his name. John Howe, maybe? But that's a great front cover, especially since we know that it's the city of Gondolin. The book is titled The Fall of Gondolin. We know where the city is, we know what the cause of the fall of Gondolin is. Those are both great. But then on the back here, we have the same character as on the front, down here in the bottom, and that, again, is Tuor. But then we also have Ulmo, basically the god of the oceans, and beautiful illustration on the back here as well. I've got to give this one, just based on all the fact that it's beautifully illustrated, that it fits my tastes, and that it really gives a good sense of what this story is, it's got to be at least a 9. Continuing on with these, the 3 Great Tales, I think is what they're called. I can't remember, my brain is not completely working at the moment. That's alright. We've got Beren and Luthien. We have 2 characters on the front and a dog. Clearly one is Beren and the other is Luthien, and the dog, if you know the story, the dog is... Why can't I think of what the dog's name is? Huan, H-U-A-N. That's the name of the dog. It's beautiful illustration. The dog looks pretty scraggly, not gonna lie, but that's alright. The rest of the illustration looks really good. You can tell that it's supposed to be Beren and Luthien, since that's what the title is. On the back here you have just a beautiful forest, moon up in the top, with a character seems to be dancing down on the bottom, probably Luthien. Not a whole lot is told, but if you know the story, you kind of know what's being implied by that. However, this cover, because the dog does look kind of scraggly looking, maybe not the most beautiful dog, I will drop it down a little bit to an 8, but it still is a great cover. And the final one in this edition is The Children of Hurin. This is... we can imply that this is one of the Children of Hurin on the front cover. Knowing the story, this is Turin Turambar. We have the Dragon Helm of Dor-lómin. This is one of the only official art pieces that includes the Dragon Helm of Dor-lómin, and it's absolutely beautiful. I love the helmet. We see the sword. That's amazing. On the back here, we have another beautiful image with 2 eagles flying into the city that is clearly also Gondolin. We've got mountains on either side. It's just a great cover. This one, also, I love this cover. I know that characters standing posing isn't always the most bestest ever, but I love this one. This one works really well. This is a solid 9 or maybe even a 9.5 for me. Then we get to The Lord of the Rings Illustrated Edition. This is the one that was released in 2021, and again, we have this same imagery of a ring with another ring and the Eye of Sauron in the middle with flame, or with elven lettering around it. We've got a signature of Tolkien instead of just a printed name. It's very pretty, very high quality looking all the way around. You take off the dust jacket, and inside you see that it is black with just an eye there, and it's very pretty. You can see that there is also elven lettering, again the ring poem right there. It just looks good. The spine looks nice. All about this looks really nice. But for me, as beautiful and amazing as this edition is with all the illustrations and everything, the gray doesn't quite have the same resonance as some of these other covers do. Next we have the illustrated edition of the Silmarillion that was released last year. And again, absolutely beautiful. We have more lettering on the end pages there. We've got beautiful, just the blue. We've got we don't really know what this is. This is just, it's a symbol of a character within the Lord of the Rings, or within the book. We have the 3 stones around it symbolizing the Silmarils. Obviously the book is titled The Silmarillion, so it's important that the Silmarils are somehow referenced. Then you take the dust jacket off, and once again you have a beautiful embossing on the front here with the green and the silver, and the two tones there really pop nicely. The green just beautiful. Again, the 3 Silmarils on the spine, very similar. It just looks really, really good. And I think that I have to give this one probably about an 8, because it just really looks nice to me. I think I might have forgot to mention what I rated the Lord of the Rings illustrated, but that's probably a 6 in terms of covers. The next one we have is Pictures by j.r.r. Tolkien. This is selection and text by Christopher Tolkien, so it's kind of not really Tolkien, j.r.r. Tolkien himself, but it is close enough. On the cover here we've got Glaurung coming out of the cave. It's beautiful, it's wacky, but it's also kind of really shows the art style that Tolkien did. You can clearly tell what it's supposed to be. It's very pretty, very stylistic, and I like that a lot. On the back of the box here, you've got the hobbits and the dwarves riding down the forest river from Thranduil's kingdom to the Long Lake, and it's of course covered by the big block of text, so you can't really see it, but it is pretty on the back as well. On the inside you have another one of these, and I will tell you what they're called if I can find them. They are called heraldic devices. So the one on the front here, does it tell me? It doesn't tell me whose heraldic device is on the front here. Do we have some on the next page? I don't believe we do. So I can't tell you who this heraldic device belongs to. That's unfortunate. But we still have a heraldic device on the front there. That's very nice. On the back we have Smaug. This is one of the illustrations very similar to what is on the map in The Hobbit, and very pretty there. Although this is kind of a very different book, this is pictures by Tolkien, not so much something that he actually wrote, I would still rate this cover probably a 7, just because stylistically it's very nice. Next stack, we have the history of the Lord of the Rings. These are notes of Tolkien's compiled by Christopher, and this is part of the big 12-volume set. This is only 3 of the volumes and a 4th that is a part of one of the other books, but that's alright. So we've got the Return of the Shadow. On the front here you have 3 horses that look very evil. Their horse heads actually, they look very evil. It looks very shadowy. The Return of the Shadow, it looks good, but you don't really know a whole lot about it other than that. We've got a big block of text covering the rest of the image, so we don't know what's going on there. But I would probably still give this a solid 6. It's nice. We then have the Treason of Isengard. This is really, you can't tell a whole lot, but it's another nice painting of trees and forest, and it looks like there is a Tower of Orthanc in the back there, so probably Isengard. The Treason of Isengard, trees and Isengard, I'd say that works pretty nicely. This is a solid 6 as well. Then the War of the Ring, we don't see much other than a cliff. Probably only going to give this one a 5 because we don't see anything about war, we don't see anything about a ring, all we see is a cliff. But it's still a very pretty picture. So maybe I should give that one a 4. And then the last part is the end of the Third Age. and this is just rocks. Looks, with the glow in the background, it looks like maybe, oh, here's a little something special. There's a golem down in the bottom left corner. So perhaps the end of the Third Age with the little golem creature and the rocks, this is probably actually then, and you can see it indeed. So right here is a little two characters, one carrying the other, so that means that it's Sam carrying Frodo up Mount Doom, which is part of the end of the Third Age. So I think that's okay. Again, very pretty, but you don't really know what you're looking at. You have to look pretty closely to find anything special other than rocks. So maybe only a 7 for that one. The next book that I have is my illustrated edition of The Hobbit. This box case doesn't really look too spectacular. You've got a little bit of an image that you can't really tell. It looks like a forest with some mountains in behind it and a path of some sort, but you can't really tell what's going on with that. So this exactly right here, maybe a 3. But you pull out the cover, you pull out the book and you see it, and now it's got this beautiful lettering that says The Hobbit or There and Back Again by j.r.r. Tolkien. What does it say? The Hobbit or There and Back Again. Forget exactly what all of this lettering says. Something about a journey I know is in there somewhere, but I can't remember what it is, where it's at and what all the lettering says, but it's still very pretty, very shiny, nice leather bound embossed edition with the gold embossing on the front there. You have that same image as I was on the front of the box, but it's pretty now. And this is a solid upgrade for sure. The quality of the book itself helps. The nice dark green, probably bring this up to a 6, maybe even a 7 for me. The next box set that we have, and I will show you, so I'll show you the covers. The box set looks nice. It's a nice mural that you can see here, but it's kind of hard to see the entire mural without the books. So each of the books, we've got the Fellowship of the Ring, and it looks kind of like a journey, and that's really all you can see. It's very pretty art though. The Two Towers is some sort of fallen tower here with a winged beast up on the top flying, but you still can't really tell a whole lot about what's going on. And then the Return of the King, you have a city that is probably Minas Tirith, and you've got another crumbling city down on the bottom here, but it's very pretty as well. This one tells a little bit better because you actually have a city that you're looking at. But when you take all 3 of these together and you link them up, they build this very pretty mural here. And unfortunately, you're not going to get an amazing look at it because unless I take a picture and insert a picture, this is the best you're going to see. But you can kind of see all 3 of them together now, and you can see how the tail of the winged beast, it goes over into the first book, and you can see how the rocks continue on into the 3rd book and stuff like that, and it just makes a very pretty mural. Individually, the books are maybe a 5 or a 6 because the art is pretty, but together they boost that up to about an 8 for me. That is, of course, if I had them in the correct order for you. If not, I will have to put a picture in there. We are on to the last stack that I have, and the first one is the Story of Korvo. This is, again, a very minimalistic cover. We've got the red background, we've got this blue and yellow something. We don't know what it is. We have this, it's the circular area that's perhaps a sun or a moon. We have this character that's this thing in the center standing upright that is maybe a tree or a group of trees, or possibly it is a person because we've got yellow up at the top, maybe hair, the blue that is maybe clothing, and the pink down at the bottom that is maybe legs or something. I don't know. It's kind of up to interpretation what this is, but it does look very nice. I really like it. It kind of, the Story of Korvo, that really doesn't tell you a whole lot. The Story of Korvo is unfinished, so it's kind of nice to have an unfinished cover that you can't tell a whole lot about, but is very pretty. Again, here is more the same image, just proportioned differently and with some added coloring and background around it. You don't really can tell much about this, but it's very pretty. I personally really like this cover, but unfortunately, because it doesn't do a whole lot to tell the story of the book, it's got to be about a 7. As much as I love the cover, I can't give it much higher than that. Then we come to Unfinished Tales of Numenor and Middle-earth. Here we see, unfortunately, there's a stain on the top left corner that was there when I got the book, so that's not from me, but unfortunately it is there. But we have another very pretty painting here. There's Amon Hin is the mount here, and then there's also a dwarf here, as well as several other characters. This clearly is Turin Turambar, as he is actually not Turin Turambar yet, but he is Turin, and he is among the outlaws, and he is with Mim the dwarf, and Mim is taking them to their home, to the dwarf home on Amon Hin, which is the Bald Hill, I believe, or the Bald Mount, something like that. But very pretty, very nice cover. Unfortunately, it does tell you a tale, and actually it does. It tells its tale, this image tells a tale, but it doesn't tell the full tale. So perhaps Unfinished Tales is a good cover for Unfinished Tales, and I really like it. So maybe I can give this one a 9. Unfortunately, with the stain on the top, that probably drops it down to an 8.5. And the last 5 that we have, the Histories of Middle-earth, volumes 1 through 5. And we will start with volume 1, which is the Book of Lost Tales. And this is an old man and a younger man sitting, presumably talking, telling tales to each other, or the young man is listening to the old man's tales. Lost Tales, that's reasonably believed, but we don't know much about it. That's a decent cover though, but it is just 2 characters sitting, so maybe only a 6 or a 7. 6.5, we'll give it 6.5. Then, Book of Lost Tales Part 2. This is another very interesting one. We have an old man pointing at somebody in a doorway or a portal of some sort. We've got a younger man holding what looks to be a spear. This is Part 2 of the Book of Lost Tales. Sure, I guess it looks like they could get lost here, and it looks like they are part of a tale. So that's a little bit better, so maybe a 7. We have The Lays of Beleriand, which is quite a different cover. We have this big black being striking at this small white being, presumably Morgoth and an elf. That elf, I can't think of what that elf's name is off the top of my head, so sorry about that. But very pretty, very active cover, not just 2 people standing posing, it's actually action. But what does it have to do with Lays of Beleriand when lays are basically songs or ballads? I don't really know. So perhaps not the greatest cover for the book titled The Lays of Beleriand, but it is a nice cover, so maybe I should give it a 6.5. Second to last, we have The Shaping of Middle-earth, and this is a castle with some characters walking up with their shields and their standards and their weapons and their armor and everything. Doesn't really tell us much about the shaping of Middle-earth, but it does show us some shapes, and they are presumably set in Middle-earth, so this is pretty solid. It's a very pretty painting once again. I will give this a 7. And the last book on this that I have that is written by Tolkien, or primarily written by Tolkien, is The Lost Road and Other Writings. So this, what does this image really tell us? We've got characters that look almost like the stereotypical barbarian, possibly, we don't know though. They're hiding behind rocks, they're looking at a bird that's flying towards a tower, a pretty white tower in the background that's very elven looking. We've got ocean and jagged rocks. We don't really see a road, so the road, I guess, is lost, so that works. Other writings, we don't see much in terms of writings, but I guess that's alright. There's clearly a lost road because we can't find the road on this cover. But it's still pretty. I'd give this 6.5, 7. So those are all my Tolkien covers. Obviously this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. There's not really a whole lot to this video. I don't really have a good reason for any of these ratings. It's just fun for me. I love looking at covers. I love all of these Tolkien covers. There's not really one that I dislike. There's some that I like a little bit less. There's some that I like a little bit more, but there's not really any that I dislike actually. All of them are very pretty, and I'm very, very glad and excited and happy to have them all in my collection. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and our social media is linked in the description down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys again soon. Stay warm. I guess that's not the end of the video. Sorry about that. I forgot about this book. This is the Tales from the Perilous Realm by J.r.r. Tolkien. Another very pretty cover, very pretty art. It's got a beautiful dragon on it. It's got a little character holding up a sword. If you turn, actually you can't see it. Unfortunately, you don't see a tail on this book. On the dragon, you can't see the dragon's tail. You can see its wings and its nice long neck and its feet and legs and claws, but you can't see the tail. So unfortunately, it doesn't work for tales from the Perilous realm. But it does look rather perilous. He's on a cliff face with a dragon in front of him. That's pretty perilous to me. So I guess this works. Solid. Loses points for not showing the tail, but definitely has points for being perilous. I'll give it a 7.5. I do like this one, so maybe I can give it a little bit more. Maybe I'll bump this up to an 8. It's got to be 7.5 though, because it's missing the tail. Oh well. Now that's the end. Bye.